we have our special guest, Brewer Hicklen. Awesome dude, pitcher for the Royals, right? Great athlete and awesome person. Is that correct? Is that not?
No, we got to start that one over.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Champion School. I'm Ray Mack. That is BZB. We're back, man. It's been a great start to the year for us. MLU is taking off. We're crazy busy in that end. I know you've been doing a ton of speaking events and stuff. So before we get into like the message and sitting down with Brewer Hicklen here, who's an incredible listen, you guys are going to really want to stick around for that. Great dude. But for you, what's MLU been up to? What have you been up to lately? And what's the impact been going on in MLU land?
Yeah, man, we're pumped for this interview. It's going to be really exciting for us. We've been a couple great places this kind of start the year off. So we've been kind of traveling around, kicking it in now this week and last week. So just some really good opportunities locally here in Arizona with some of the schools. We're kind of wrapping up our final couple of weeks with Paradise Valley Community College and Benedictine University. So those are kind of the local events. Some of the high schools, there's a few that we're wrapping up with too, the kind of that 8-week training program, and then a few that are the one-offs where you go in for a weekend. Just went to LSU this last weekend. That was sweet, right? Epic. They're going to be nasty, right? They're really good. And then this weekend going to a high school in Central Valley, California to go get some work in. So a lot of good things happening, man. The spring's kicking in pretty good. Got some great opportunities. Now it's just finalizing some details and continue to push this thing forward.
Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, we just talked about off air, like how much this thing has grown over the last 2 years. For those of you that have been sticking around with us, like it's exploded to the point where we're almost having to split off now, right? Like we have to have 2 camps going in one weekend because there's so many people reaching out. So if you are one of those people that want to have something set up in your area, please reach out to us, whether it's Project Sandlot, MLU side. If you're trying to get something going in your area, reach out because we can get something set up. You know, we've been really attacking and even growing into other sports now too. So reach out. Would love to work with you guys. But let's get into the good news of the week. Good news of the week. I got 2 little tidbits for you. Go ahead and let me screen share. I didn't ask you to do this first because it's a little interesting. I just pulled it up.
On it.
So I don't know. Did you ever have a pogo stick when you were a kid?
No, I always wanted one though.
Okay. So I was that kid that used the neighborhood pogo stick, but I was never this good. So this dude's name is Henry Bayless. He is quote unquote a professional pogoer. And I just want you to take a look at this.
Oh my!
Because and we'll probably have to clean this out, but describe for the people that are listening what you're watching right now.
This is insane. This dude's doing double backflips on a pogo stick. He's going LeBron James through the legs, dunking on you on a pogo, dude. Why he's so high in the air?
Yeah, man, this dude's nuts. So, and it talks about going into your craft and practicing it out in your craft. He said he started pogoing when he was like 12. And then got a legitimate pogo stick, a super bounce pogo stick here when he was like 13, and now he's 22 and he's doing it at a professional level. There's no one in the world that does it.
It's insane, dude. He's doing circles with this thing.
Yeah, this guy's doing straight tail whips and one-handers into a backflip. So I had to bring that up. I had to show you. The guy's a wizard.
I mean, yeah, he's so good. He's bouncing behind the back. Right, it's crazy. I can't even bounce forward.
I'd probably snap an ankle doing that. So that was number 1. Number 2, a little more world record breaking. Zara Rutherford, she has just become the youngest woman to fly around the world solo. So Amelia Earhart, watch out. This girl's 19.
Wow.
She just flew around the entire world. I think it's 32,000 miles or something. You're not a guy that's ever going to get a pilot's license, I would assume.
No, never, not at all. No chance. I'm never doing that.
Yeah, you don't like heights, huh?
I hate heights. I get so much anxiety when I see heights, and being in control of the plane in the heights, no way, dude, no chance.
Yeah, dude. And a crazy stat that I saw reading this: 5.1% of all pilots are women. 5%.
Wow.
Like, so this girl's like, she set out to do this to put it on the map that, hey, in those STEM fields, right, that women can do it too, you know? So I think it's pretty cool. for her to do. I'm not doing that. There's no shot. But yeah, flying simulators, I mess around with that every once in a while, but not this. So congratulations, Zara, on your new world record or several records, I'm sure.
Great job.
All right, let's get into my favorite segment of the week. Chew on this, presented by
The chew on this for this week is something that I learned this last weekend that I really liked. It was a line said by one of our mentors and a dude who just crushes it everywhere we go. But he said something that was very powerful and it stuck with me and it's going to stick with me forever. It was, emotions are not commandments. They're just suggestions. And at first I'm like, well, what does this even mean? Well, he started to dive into it a little bit more and there's some very easy similarities, right? So if we put it in life terms, I wake up in the morning, I hear my alarm go off. My emotions tell me, hey, they're suggesting that, hey, maybe I should hit the snooze button. Maybe I should roll back over and get a couple extra Z's, or maybe I shouldn't go work out today. That's what my emotions are trying to tell me, but it's not a commandment. I don't have to listen to what my emotions are telling me. I have the control over my emotions. Now we take it into sports context. So say baseball. My emotion when the umpire calls a bad call is to freak out and get mad and get upset, whether it's at myself or the umpire, and play the blame game. Right? A lot of people point fingers and they get in their own head. So in this moment, right, my emotions are suggesting that I should freak out, that I should get upset, that I should slam my helmet or throw my equipment. Instead, right, I have the choice over how I handle myself, and I can go back into the dugout in a more mature manner without throwing something, yelling at the umpire, or getting upset and showing really bad body language and showing the umpire up. So emotions are just suggestions. They're not commandments. And sometimes we need to listen to them, but not all the time. And I think most people in our world treat those as commandments. As far as, hey, my boss made me mad, it's my time to resent, right? I got to rebel against this guy or girl. Like I've got to get back at this person, right? And it's all over the place, relationships too. So something that we can hopefully help ourselves with is, let's just use them as a suggestion. Like I don't have to believe whatever that emotion is trying to tell me. I don't have to believe the fear that I have before I go public speak. I don't have to believe the fear that I have before I go step in a championship game, or I get the last game winning free throw and it's make or break. I don't have to believe that. I have the choice over that. And that is very powerful when you believe that you have the choice over how you feel. So emotions are not commandments. They're just a suggestion, right? That's it.
Dude, and shout out to Dean Wellams. I'm guessing who
shout out. That's exactly who it was. Yeah. Legendary,
yeah.
Man. He brought it out. I'm like, man, go ahead.
Yeah, he's really good. And I think the one thing that parents should take away from this too, when you're teaching your kids, I think the biggest thing to teach them, and Jake Wiskersian talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago, is the emotional intelligence, right? Helping them understand what those emotions are, because up until like 9, you only have, like he said, I think 7 emotions that you're really locked in on it. And I don't know if it gets up to 11 or whatever, 12, but understanding them is the first step in being able to go, hey, I can step away from this. I know I'm feeling anger right now, but it doesn't have to define me or define this next few actions of mine, because it's always the guy that throws the second punch that gets seen. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
so
yep.
Yeah, totally good. Great job, Dean. Shout out to Dean Wellams,
Legend.
Hall of Famer. Today, Brewer Hicklen. The dude is a Hall of Fame legendary human being. He also does some writing in his free time, professional baseball player, but the writing side is kind of cool. See him writing in his own blogs. And the guy feels like, we're about to jump into the interview, but it feels like a dude that should be coaching my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like he is a teacher and an athlete at the same time. And he's gone through his own ups and downs. So really excited to jump into that with him. Without further ado, we're gonna have to cut that one out. Brewer Hicklen.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Champions School. We got the whole squad in the building today. I'm Austin Byler. We got Ray Mack to my left, JP below me, and then we have our special guest, Brewer Hicklen. Awesome dude, pitcher for the Royals, right? Great athlete and awesome person. Is that correct? Is that not?
No, we got to start that one over.
Okay, restart that one. I thought it was the Royals. What?
No,
it's not.
You got the position
Yeah, it is.
wrong.
Let me get my computer.
What
charged
position?
real quick.
What?
That's messed up.
I did zero background, so that's my fault.
You got him like just to leave completely.
He's out.
It's like we're out, man. I'm never coming back.
Good thing there's 3 strikes, so now we got one guy at the bottom of the left, and I think that's Ray's chance. So
there we go, dude. Oh my god. We're gonna just jump right into this. Brewer Hicklen, outfielder. Okay, guy hits a lot, not pitches. But we're gonna kick the story off. Brewer, let's get a little background on you so Austin understands what's going on here. How did you get started in sports? Where did you end up, and where are you at today?
yeah, so my whole life I've been surrounded by sports. My dad kind of was an athlete growing up, and my mom as well. So they kind of threw me into the fire. I think when I was 3 going on 4, my first baseball team was the Purple People Eaters. It wasn't even a baseball team, it was a softball team. So I've been around baseball for as long as I can remember. And I just remember, falling in love with it, always asking my dad to go to the front yard and play and always wanting to practice. I wasn't really too much of a kid that wanted to go inside and play too many video games. So my dad was always willing to kind of help me pursue that dream and that passion. And he catered to my needs growing up and was a big instrumental part of my development, and played both football and baseball in high school and had the opportunity to do both of those as well in college, which was kind of a unique opportunity that was presented to me at UAB in 2015, but was fortunate enough to transition from there to solely baseball, playing with the Kansas City Royals 2017. I guess is when I got drafted, and now going on my 5th year, which is kind of crazy to think about. I feel like an old man.
Yeah, right. What position were you in football?
Played quarterback growing up. Kind of interesting, I guess, thing throughout high school. I got a scholarship offer to play at UAB in 2013 from the baseball team, and I kind of wanted to see what football offers had. I had a couple that were like mid-majors on the table, but I wanted to go into my senior year to see if I could get something a little bit bigger. Didn't actually end up getting anything, so called my college coach back and said, "Hey, I want to commit to UAB." And at that time I had waited, I guess, 8 or 10 weeks, and he told me that there was no scholarship offer on the table.
Damn.
And so what was supposed to be one of an exciting, glorious day for me turned out to be kind of a tragic day. But him being a man of faith, a man of his word, he told me to walk on the first year and that he would provide an opportunity for me to earn a scholarship the next year, which he, went with his word. And so I had the opportunity to do that, which was pretty cool, but it was a roller coaster of emotions for sure.
That's crazy. What year were you when you made that call to him? Were you a senior in high school?
Yeah, it was my fall. I was like, 6 weeks into the season, and I was having a pretty good football season, and just wasn't didn't get the big Power 5 school like I wanted to. It was the UT Martins, the Furman, Sanfords, and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of go to a bigger school, and UAB was that for me. And so I had the opportunity to go down there in 2015, and got hurt my first year, tore my rotator cuff 5 days before the season, and then played for 2 years and then got drafted. So
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, crazy, man.
What a whirlwind. So when you get there, you get to school, what's it like being a 2-sport athlete in college? I mean, we were grinders on the baseball side, and we know we were just dead. So for you to be able to do both, man, is pretty wild.
Yeah, I think so with UAB, I don't know if you guys are familiar. Like, I guess it was years ago. They're kind of starting to become more of a national program, but they cut the program in 2014. And so that was my first year there. And I kind of had this like itch to play football, but when they cut the program, I felt like that was kind of like God's shutting the door for me. Well, it turns out they literally 12 months later, they got the program back, and I'm like, okay, this is my chance. So literally right, like it was in January right before the baseball season. I just had this big itch to like go talk to Coach Clark, who's the head coach. And he said, man, come out in the summer. And at that point I knew I was, a pretty good baseball player. And I wanted to make sure that if I did play football, I would be able to contribute. I don't want to just sit on the sidelines because I could be focusing on baseball. So after 3 or 4 weeks of doing some summer camps and stuff, he offered me a full scholarship to play football, and kind of went into the fall and did mainly a focus on football in the fall. But it was kind of crazy because during that time we didn't have games that fall because we were rebuilding the program. So on it was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, we had like full scrimmage practices. And then on Saturday, I would go from the morning practice of football, and then afternoon, my coach would bump the practice back, and we'd start scrimmaging at 2. So I'd go from 8 to 12, and then eat lunch and practice at 2 to 5 for baseball.
And then knock out a bunch of classes, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. And still
Yeah.
have to keep good grades. Yeah, which is the reason you go to school. But ended
Yeah.
up getting my degree right after I got drafted, so I got that out of the way. No more school for me.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
knocked it off.
Well, I'll give you one more before I pass it off to Bai. But what is the difference then? Because you're working with a team of 100+ dudes or whatever on the football side versus the 35 you had on your baseball team. What is it like building a relationship, especially in a leadership standpoint, like you had as a quarterback, and then on the baseball team as well?
Yeah, and so that was I forgot to give you that second part of the question. So I was a quarterback growing up my whole life, and then I got to UAB, and I was going to be quarterback, but he felt like my athletic abilities would suit as a receiver. So then I got
Okay,
thrown
right on.
into learning a whole new position. But regardless of the position, I feel like I'm trying to put myself in a leadership responsibility wherever I go.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a God-given trait that I've had, and I'm passionate about that. I think that's something that brings people together, and that's something that I really enjoy. And so definitely it was cool to kind of like start building new connections on the football team, which was a great opportunity because these people came from all the JUCOs in the United States to get under this one vision of Coach Clark to say, hey, look, we're rebuilding a program, we're starting from scratch. Are you with me or are you not? And so there was a lot of bought-in guys and guys that really, I know you've seen, was it the Second Chance U? I think the
Yeah.
JUCO, some guys came from over there,
Yeah.
and we were kind of the Second Chance U for Division I. So we had some guys from all over that had been, a couple 5-star recruits that just fell off the table, and so they needed somebody to believe in them, the second chance, and that's what Coach Clark did. And I kind of just tried to do that within my core group of receivers and the offensive group. But yeah, it was interesting because you got two completely different types of personalities and characters on two different teams and stuff. But it was it was cool. It was good for me and my development as a person and a player as well.
That's awesome.
It's absolutely amazing. And the story too, I kind of want to circle back into one of those parts of that story, which is really important. But before, like off air, right before we started this, Ray mentioned something. He's like, hey, this is like a type of guy that I want to coach my kids. He's like, this is like the type of dude that just like researching you. So that was just such a great compliment, and you can tell it in how you speak here. But I want to go back to that moment when you called the UAB coach back and said, hey, like, I want to come here, and you're kind of going and expecting to have a scholarship. And I think most kids and the ones that listen to this or the families, they're like, if I don't get a scholarship, I'm not going. Like, it's like their ego gets shattered and they try and hot route and it never works out for them. But for you, you said, I'm going to trust in my coach because he's a man of faith. He's a man of his word. And I believe in him, even though you go into that situation and it could be totally different because we hear all the horror stories of it as well.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
But for you to make that decision as a senior in high school to say, I had the scholarship, I had everything I needed, but I waited and now it's off the table, but I'm still going to like kind of be a man of your word too and go to this school. What was that situation like for you? Because I know it couldn't have been very easy, but you took that leap of faith to go there and it's obviously panned out for you.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a leap of faith because at that time, I mean, I had, probably over 10 football scholarships, completely full rides. Oof. And so, I spent a lot of time in prayer and a time just talking to my parents, trying to figure out where I felt like I belonged. And UAB was on my heart after a couple of weeks. And I said, you know what, this is what I want to pursue. And at that point, for me, there was no going back because I felt like that was where I was led to. And Coach Shoop, like I said, being a man of faith was somebody that I looked up to and somebody that, regardless of the baseball side, I wanted to learn how to be a good Christian leader and somebody that's a good husband and a good father. And so that was what attracted me as well, alongside baseball. But that's the cool thing about baseball is you can come from any background. You could come from anywhere, first round draft pick, 40th round draft pick. But once you get on the diamond at the end of the day, it's all about performing. And if you have, a baseball glove and a baseball and a bat in your hand, you've got a chance. And so, with my work ethic and the way that I, the drive that I have, I knew that, nothing was going to stand in front of me and I wasn't going to let anything get in the way. So that was the mentality I took to UAB, and that's the mentality I've taken to now pro ball. And hopefully one day we'll be able to, break into the big leagues with that same mentality.
It's incredible, man. And I love the faith component too. I think that's a huge component that goes overlooked, especially in professional sports. I remember, Brewer, there was when I was with the Diamondbacks for a little bit and they had the chapel, right? The morning chapels at spring training. Yeah. And I went into the chapel and I'm sitting there and it's marked for 8:15 and me and the chaplain are sitting there. We're kind of looking around. It's 8:15, 8:30, 8:45. and nobody's coming into this room. And right, there's 300, 400 people in spring training at this time. And it was just me and this chaplain in my last year. And I'm sitting there like, where's the faith, man? Like, where is this? But dive into that piece a little bit, if you don't mind. Like, how important has your faith been through professional sports? Because we know how hard it can be and how many places you're going and all this other stuff that happens throughout that season. For you, like, how important has your faith been in your career and your journey?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, it literally, there's so many times, in my life that like I've had this opportunity to share the gospel. You feel passionate about it, right? But then like it just, the door doesn't get open, and that's just God's timing. It's just not, not the right time. And that's one of the things. He just calls us to be obedient and persistent and continue to pray for these people. And when I look at all my teammates, some of them are saved and some of them aren't. Fortunately for the Royals, there are several core group of guys that do have strong faith, and I've been able to kind of build some relationships with them. And it was just a big adjustment, though, coming from UAB, who the whole team is built around faith. I mean, like from the top down, it was just like the team Bible studies, chapel led on Sunday, fire coach, no option. Like it's just a 10-minute word, and he's going to tell us before the game. And so, while the Royals do, like, Dayton Moore is a Christian man and he has Christian principles, it's still hard, to see when you have 200 guys to like have the same vision. And, I don't ever want to throw my, Christianity down somebody's throat. Like that's not a way to get somebody to get to know Jesus, but just by the way that I live, by the way that I treat people, and by the way that, I respond to certain situations. Sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't, but that's kind of the avenue that I look to help, spread the good news of the Lord. And it's really, one of the biggest, it is the biggest reason why I play, because there's so much opportunity in baseball. There's so many people that look up to us. There's so many, people that follow the game of baseball. And that's what really drives me one day, to be able to hopefully have that platform to be able to say, look, like, well, I've put a lot of work in here. Like, it's not me who's got me here. Like, God's blessed me with this ability. And like, there's so many, there's so many people that like when things go wrong, they want to blame God, but when things go right, they want to, say it was because of them. But that's not really how God works. Like God's there through the thick and the thin, and through the ups and the downs. And that's what I've really found, just especially to be true over this past year in my journey through, what was a roller coaster season.
Yeah, that's so good. And I appreciate your openness and honesty with that, because it's hard, sometimes being a Christian in the locker room like that. And I'm thankful you've had some really good upbringing and some great experiences, especially at UAB, and having that as a staple within the program. And then now with the Royals, you've got a kind of a core group of guys that you can kind of lean on in those aspects. And I love the fact that I'm not going to throw it down your throat. I'm just going to do it by my actions and how I treat you.
Yeah.
Right. And people can see
Absolutely.
that. And they're like, hey, what's something different about this guy? Right? Something's different about you. So I guess my last question before I pass it to Perk is, what have you learned since being in professional baseball? Like, what are some of the similarities, differences from college to pro ball? And like, what have you learned? Because I know it's like a different flavor, right? Like, what are some things that you've been learning through the ups and downs?
Yeah, it's honestly like, it's funny. It's all simplistic because it's still the game of baseball, right? You can't take that out of it. We're still getting paid to play a kid's game. And so, when it comes down to 7:00 at night and you're in between the two white lines, like at the end of the day, you're just competing. You're letting your response take over, and you're just out there playing and having fun. But when you look at like the development and the side, like the time that you're able to spend on your craft, it's pretty crazy, because I've just seen myself like, yeah, so how you get your memories on photos like every couple like months or whatever from like a couple years ago. I remember, like getting some videos from my first off season of me like weightlifting, and now I'm looking at it and I'm like, golly, I thought I was, I thought I was all that then, and here I am 3 years down the line, like so much stronger, so much faster. But I think one of the biggest things is just like learning the insides of the game, not just going out there, because I've been able to rely on my athletic ability for so long, because I have been a pretty good athlete, and I kind of took that football mentality to baseball, just went out there and like, hard nosed, just go out there and grind it out. But, at the end of the day, that kind of runs out. Like you have to really start playing smart. And so like taking the new analytics, chewing on them. I'm not a huge analytic guy, but like I take what I feel like, gives me an asset, like chew on that, develop on that, and ask a lot of questions, because there's a lot of people out there that know a lot more than me, and just soak up a lot of different knowledge. But yeah, definitely is a lot different than college, just based solely on the time that you can spend on your craft, but also like the information that you have accessible to you. And it's just getting more and more. And one thing that I'm really passionate about is like not like I don't want information overload because I'm an overthinker. I'm a perfectionist. I'm really OCD, and so like I don't want to overwhelm myself. So like I really try to pick and choose like the analytics that I want to try to like dive deep into. But I am always open to hearing new things and new ideas, and that's part of just growing as a player and as a person.
It's really good. It's really good. JP, I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, before I touch on a little bit of what you do with in terms of writing in your blog, one thing I wanted to talk about that you mentioned is how important the character side and the human side of the game is. And I think it sounds like a lot of the reason that you went to UAB was because you had the opportunity to kind of develop yourself as a person, become a good father. And when I worked for the Royals, one thing that they were always big and focused on is the character side. Can you talk about how important that is as you made that transition to pro ball, and like how important of a role that played in your life?
Well, I can tell you right now a story that literally lines up with that. I remember in 2018, I had gotten promoted from extended spring training to Lexington. I played well there for a couple months and ended up getting promoted to Wilmington, which was our high A affiliate. And as you know, you always want to get promoted, not demoted. Well, after 3 weeks of being in high A, I remember getting called into the manager's office and getting told I was going to be getting sent back down to low A. And I mean, I didn't play that well in high A, but it was only just a couple weeks of sample size. So like I wasn't worried about it. But when I got called back, obviously like your natural instinct as a human is to start questioning, doubting, getting frustrated. And it was about 2 hours later, I remember getting a call from Dayton Moore, who's our general manager. Unknown number called me, which I don't ever answer, but I just happened to answer it. He called me, said, "Hey, Brewer, this is Dayton Moore, general manager of the Kansas City Royals." I'm like, "Oh, hey, Dayton, how's it going?" And he's like, "Hey, I know you're probably, confused and a little bit frustrated, but last night we were sitting in the box during the Royals game, and Sully Matias, who was one of our outfielders in Lexington, got hurt. And so we were all trying to debate on like, do we call somebody up? Do we move somebody, positions out there? Because they were in the playoff hunt trying to win a championship. And at this time, the Royals didn't have very many championships in the minor leagues. The last couple of years, we've been just going off. But at this time, this would have been one of the first. And so he said they were all sitting there, having a conversation. They called some of the coaches, talked to some of the players, and they, all came to the conclusion that like, my leadership and character into the clubhouse was something that they felt like would help propel them and give them the boost morale that they need, because they were disappointed. I mean, one of their best players, they got hurt. I think he hit 35 home runs that year. So they needed somebody to come in there and kind of just, keep positive mindset. And so he said, "I want to challenge you to go down there and do that and keep a good attitude and lead them to a championship." And I remember like literally like instant perspective change of like poor me to let's go get it, And that's life, man. It's all about perspective. And so it was a good learning moment for me just to try to keep, a positive mindset and go out and, staying true to who I am and do my best.
Yeah, and that's great. And that kind of makes me want to turn into the writing that you're doing. One of the blogs that you had talked about dark versus light, trying to find lightness in some of the darkest times. And you mentioned that some of your worst bad performance days were the darkest days that you've had. What were some things that you did to kind of change your perspective, as you talked about, and get yourself out of those moments where you did have those dark times?
Yeah, it was this past year was really interesting because the year before in 2019, right before COVID, like I was coming off a really successful year. Um, my mentality was the same, like to go out there and to play the best that I can, but like I really had a mission to like try to get to the big leagues in 2020. And obviously COVID happened, but like my perspective didn't change, like continue to still put the work in. I knew like with COVID, it was an opportunity that was going to come. Like some people were going to take advantage of this time to develop, some people aren't. I was going to be the guy that took advantage of it. And I remember just like spending all the time, blood, sweat, and tears, and like times that, the gym wasn't really open, but I had to sneak my way in there and, just find a way to hit and stuff. But it, going into the spring training, I was feeling good. I was ready to go. Like same mission. I had a little swing change and had some beginner's luck. Felt good going into the season, and then I got to the beginning of the season, and it started going downhill quick. And I was on a team that was uber talented. I mean, Bobby Witt, MJ Melendez, Nick Prado, you name it. At the end of the year, there was almost everybody had gotten promoted to AAA just because like everybody was just absolutely mashing. And it was kind of the first time in my life where like I hadn't had success and everybody around me had success. But in that time, like I knew that like it was important for me to continue to be a good friend. And I mean, I could look at myself in the mirror and say I gave it my best shot. Like I really did. And there's days that I obviously didn't have a good attitude, but like for the most part, I felt like I tried to stay positive, um, and be a good teammate, like not ride that roller coaster, like only be a good teammate when I'm playing good. You know, nobody wants to be that guy, but it was to the point where like I bottled up all my emotions like internally, and I didn't necessarily want to share that with anybody because I didn't want them to see like how much I was struggling. And so it came to a breaking point in July. I remember it like it was yesterday, and I still get the chills thinking about it because it's like 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, walking down the tunnel, got to the locker room, just put my hands on my head, thinking like, what am I doing? I'm not good enough. Like I don't belong here. You know, this career is getting cut. Like this is kind of the end of your road. Like soak it up while you can. And I was like, I need to talk to somebody. And at that time it was, 11 o'clock after a game. So nobody's really available. And, my wife's asleep. My parents are asleep. My mentors are all asleep. And I was like, who can I call? And I called one of my former coaches that was coaching in Korea. And at that time it was early morning for them. And I called and I was like, son, I'm hurting. And like after that, I could not like speak. I just started bawling, crying, just like brokenhearted, like just so much pain and agony inside because I had been bottling up, dealing with it by myself and isolating myself. And I just remember like the freeing feeling of letting that go and sharing that with somebody. God doesn't design us to do things alone. That's why we have community and relationships. And I knew that, but I just like denied it and just wanted to be that like stronghold for myself. But like, I'm not strong enough to handle life by myself. So I shared that with him, and no joke, the next day, I think I went 3 for 4, 2 home runs, game winning RBI, home run. It's just crazy, and I don't think that's coincidence. I think that's just like the feeling that we get, the freedom that we get. Like, and I was just playing so like with chains on my back. It was really hard for me to like enjoy it and see, that life's good. And once I was able to like just release that and realize that like just a game, man, like who really cares, and you put so much time and sweat and sacrifice into it. So like, obviously you're going to get frustrated, but at the end of the day, like the people that love you still love you regardless of how you do. And that's the perspective that I took. And I wouldn't change a thing about it. I mean, when I look back from the last year, like I'm glad that I played so bad because I'm able to learn from it, and I'll take that into the rest of my life and the rest of my career, because at the end of the day, it's probably going to happen again,
Yeah. And that's awesome. Thanks for sharing your story and being so open about it. This is stuff we kind of touch on all the time. And that's what we love sharing these stories about other people, because a lot of times it tells people that they aren't alone. They can do this. There's other people out there that are going to be there to support them and kind of love them no matter what happens. Ray, I'll kick it back to you if you have any.
Yeah, you said Coach Sutton, right?
Yeah, Larry Sutton. Yeah.
I was going to ask about that. So what were some things that he told you? And I'm sure it's not crazy, like life-changing advice, but more of just like putting it into perspective for you. Like you'd said, what were some things he said to you that day?
It was interesting because like, it wasn't even about baseball, because like all my numbers for baseball were fine. Like my analytics were fine. I wasn't swinging and chasing pitches. I was hitting some balls hard when I hit them. I just was not having success. And so we really just talked about like life. He was just literally lending an ear to me. And that's a lot of people that don't understand like how to be a good friend, is like, just listen. Like if you don't have anything going on with your life, one of your friends may have something, just listen. That's all. It's not hard. Anybody can listen, right? Yeah. You don't have to have the advice. You don't have to have the words and the answers, but just be a friend to lend an ear. And I'm sure a lot of people like that are listening to this, they may not be the guy that's struggling with something internally, but I can guarantee you there's somebody they know that is. And it's their job to make sure that that person knows that they're available to listen. Yeah. They don't have to have the answers, because sometimes when you just speak it out to somebody else, you figure out the answer within yourself. And that was what I found out, was I don't need to change anything I'm doing. I just need to change the way that I'm thinking. Yep. I'm already doing the right thing. Just change the way that I'm thinking. And people don't realize how powerful your mind is. And that's something that it truly is, like perspective, like how you perceive what's going on. And there's two lenses that you can look through life. You can look through poor pitiful me, or you can look through it from God's given me this day, and I'm going to take this day and I'm going to be thankful for this. And most of the days I try to take that approach. Life happens, things get sped up, we lose our foundation at times, but at the end of the day, it all comes back down to the core of just being grateful for what you have.
That's awesome. Did you buy him dinner? Did you shoot him a Venmo?
Yeah, I could probably send him like $2 and it'll go a long way over there.
That's
no.
right.
We might all need to move out there, man. Come on.
I'll hit you with one more for sending to buy, but you do your own youth camps too, right? Every once in a while you giving back into your communities out there in Arkansas. Tell us about that. Tell us what that means to you. I know for me as a coach, that always helped me, one, teach my players a little better, and two, put in things in perspective again of, hey, like, look how happy this kid is just playing catch. You know what I'm saying? So talk to us about those camps real quick, and then I'll send it over to Bye.
Yeah, that's something I look forward to every off season when I come home, and just the kids look forward to it every year, being able to hang out with the pros. I don't remember ever having a chance like this when I was a kid. So I try to bring in some people that really, that they're excited about. Kyle Wright, who pitched for the Braves in the World Series. He's a good friend of mine. I mean, he wasn't there this year and everybody's like, where's Kyle? Where's Kyle? Where's Kyle? I'm like, you're at my camp, man. I'm here.
I'm here.
But no, yeah, it's cool to see the kids just light up, and that's one of the things that I want them to understand is, like, you know, I had a team that I was helping with on Sunday. They asked me to come speak to their guys, and I'm like, you know, who here has failed? And they're all like, yeah, I failed. I'm like, well, who's failed 70% of the time? And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, the MVP last year failed 70% of the time. Yeah. The best player in baseball failed 70% of the time. Like, you're not that guy, so you're going to fail 70% of the time. And I'm like, what kind of teammate are you when you fail? And that's, you know, the lessons that I try to teach these kids, because I remember being that kid and pouting and being a sore loser and crying when I lost. That doesn't get you anywhere. I don't remember a single game when I was 10 years old. I don't remember if I got a home run or, struck out. I don't know. So it's like, guys, just have fun, man. The friendships you remember forever. You know, we're not going to remember that time you struck out. I can promise you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I try to teach them.
What a great life lesson too for these kids. Cause I mean, I'm putting myself back in 12-year-old shoes. It's like pout, angry, face turns red, like get really tense and like punch something. Yeah. That might've been 20-year-old me too. Right. Like it took me a while to get over that. It was really hard, but
he remembers that one home run he hit when he was 12.
Every time.
I'm like, hey man, that little league bomb. Come on, man. That's all the praise. Okay. But you mentioned a couple of things, right? The first thing I wanted to kind of touch on was the listening. Like, hey, all it takes is somebody to listen. I'm sitting at the airport Sunday night and flying back home, and I'm sitting at the bar watching the Chiefs and Bills game, which was just insane. And somebody sits next to me, right? And usually at the airport, most of us are like, whoosh, tunnel vision, don't talk
Headphones
to me.
on, don't talk.
Yep. It's exactly how it was. AirPods were in. I'm kind of eating my food. Like, they don't touch me, don't talk to me, don't say anything. And this guy reaches over and says, hey, you using this ketchup for your water? Because I just had some water in front of me. And I'm like, kind of funny, but no, go ahead, have it. And he starts talking. He's like, where are you from? What do you do? What is some of the things that you like, et cetera, et cetera. And then he tells me, he's like, I'm flying to Denver. I'm like, oh, Denver's beautiful. I love Denver. He's like, yeah, actually our house just got burned down in that fire, and we're going to look for our dog that we think is dead. I'm like, what? Like, this dude just straight up opened up to me. But it made me realize what you said is all I think he needed was somebody just to listen to him. And I didn't have to have any words of advice. I don't even know the guy, right? But just being somebody that he can share something with, you see a smile go on the face, you see the perspective shift. And it was crazy. He started showing me pictures of it, and like this, it was horrible, right? Horrible incident. But him to have that perspective taught me something very powerful, to stop staying so closed in, especially in the airport, right? Because nobody wants to be next to the chatty Cathy on the plane. But like, maybe that person just needs you, and God placed you in that position to listen to that person for a reason. That was huge. The second thing was like, and I want to dive into this with you and see your perspective on it, but we were talking about this last weekend. I was kind of doing some peak performance stuff, and there were two columns that we were talking about in sports, and we're kind of business wise, but then sports wise, there was the healthy column, right? And then the safety column. And how I put it in sports wise was, the safe thing is to go, when I'm struggling, go work on our swing, go get in the cage more, go hit off the machine more. Hey, bring the net close, change my arm angle, whatever it is, right? That's the safe thing to do. It's the easy thing to do. The harder thing to do is the healthy column, which is, hey, I need to check in with myself. Where's my mindset at? What am I
Yeah.
thinking about out there? Am I worried about my girlfriend who we just got in a fight and that's might be the reason why I went 0 for 4 today? Or am I putting pressure on myself because I'm getting moved up, down, et cetera? But in sports, right, especially in the minor leagues and in professional baseball and the things that you go through, I think we always attack the safety column first, and we rarely ever approach the healthy column. But in reality, like you said, the healthy column, if I just take care of my mindset, everything else starts to work for me. Like you had that conversation, you've probably felt this relief and the weight off your shoulders, and then you go out there and you perform and you have the game of your life. How important is it for athletes specifically, but in general, people, to work on the mindset aspect a little bit more and just kind of train your mind to see that perspective that you've been talking about this whole time, especially through the adversity and challenges that you're going to face on a daily basis?
Perfect. Right on. I mean, literally safety is comfort, and there's not much growth in comfort. You got to get uncomfortable to grow. And so that's one of the biggest things is like literally people just fall in a rut of doing the same thing. But like sometimes you got to think outside the box. Sometimes you have to have somebody say something to you that you may not agree with, but say, maybe they've got a good point. Maybe I do need to view it from a different perspective. And you're exactly right. Like literally it comes down to this, because I can tell you right now, my swing's been the same for 2 years, 3 years. We're talking maybe little changes here and there, but this right here is developing. It's not all the way there. I've got ways to go, but this is developing. The more pitches I see with, these eyes, the better equipped I am going to be for next year and the next year. So yeah, you exactly. I mean, that is literally, this is what I'm training right now. Oof. And it's hard to train in the off season like that. So like I got to put, they got the new Oculus, like Win Reality, where you can put it on your head, like make those decisions and stuff. So like I'm trying to do some stuff like that. But I literally got a text today from a doctor that has a performance vision thing. Like I'm going to test my eyes, like see how my eyes are working and see how my brain's responding and rhythm and timing and all that good stuff. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like sometimes you have to shift your perspective from like the physical things to like think more mental. And just to touch off, your guy in Denver, like it's funny you said that, like his dog passed away literally almost 24 hours ago. My dog ran into the road and got hit by a car.
Oh my gosh.
And this was yesterday, and I was in the backyard. He squeezed through the fence and I saw him run and hit the car. And like, I literally saw life flash before my eyes, like, cause my dog is like my son, and my wife, especially. By the grace of God, he's fine. Like literally he sprinted back to me and no bruises, no blood, nothing. And it was like talk about like heart sink, and I mean, I've only had this dog for a year, and but it's funny you said that, because like that, like literally I had to call my dad, because I was just bawling, crying, like just to tell somebody, like, what do I do? Like he seems fine, but like it didn't seem right that he's fine. But yeah, like literally, I mean, that, and the way that I treat him last night and today, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for you. But like, that's how we should treat people every day. Like that's the perspective that we should treat. And like, it literally was a reflection moment for me. Like I should treat my wife like that. I should treat my friends like that. And it was a good opportunity for me to learn and grow, but it was scary. I mean, obviously I don't want to have to learn lessons that way, but in every scary situation and failure, there's something to grow and learn from. And that's the mindset that I've tried to take.
That is so good. And you mentioned perspective this whole time. And for me, some of the things that are just kind of hitting me in the face that I see through you is you're really anchored in your faith, in gratitude and thankfulness. You're anchored in who you are as a person, not what you do on the field or what you do at the youth camp. Like it's who you are as a person, and how that shines through just a screen like this, man. It's very powerful and it's impactful. It's impacted me today. And I love it. It's awesome, especially your vulnerability with a lot of this. And I remember you kind of going back to that mental side thing. It's like when we go to a bunch of teams, right? We work with teams from all different levels. And sometimes it's hard to get the buy-in from people when you talk mindset or leadership or just getting to know teammates and being vulnerable like you are. And I remember this last week, and one of the guys was like, he came up to me after, and he's a good player, right? Like, talented. And he's like, man, when you guys first came in the fall, I thought this was a bunch of eyewash. I thought this was eyewash.
Big phrase. We do that here.
Yeah. It's like, oh, here comes the mental guy. Or here comes this team building stuff. Like, this is stupid, but whatever. And then he went on to say, he's like, but this has changed my life. Like this has gotten me to get to know my teammates. This has gotten me to realize like I have some things that I've dealt with in my life, but hearing your vulnerability, hearing what you've been through and how you've overcome some of these, like I'm going through that exact same thing right now. I was like, what? I had no clue, right? No clue. But that piece of like, initially we want to judge it, right? We're like, like whether it's analytics, whether it's the mental side, whether it's another person, it's like, this is eyewash. But in reality, like these things work, right? Especially as an athlete, it's so important to work on those things. But I just wanted to kind of share that because it popped up when you mentioned that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you hear the cheesy phrases, we over me, like, you know, all those things, but it's like, that's the whole point of it. Like being somebody that can take the attention off their self and focus on serving somebody else. Like once somebody does that, they will find true value in their own self. They thought they had value. They're like, oh man, I'm the man. But you find a whole different level of fulfillment when you start serving other people. And that's literally like the whole point of, for me to play baseball, like trying to like find, hey, how's your family today? You know, how you doing today? Like if somebody comes on my mind, you guys today, somebody on your mind that you want to thank, don't wait, send them a text right when you're done. Say, man, I just want to let you know I'm thankful for you. And that's it. That's all you got to say. You know, like that goes so far. Handwritten letter. When's the last time you wrote a handwritten letter to somebody to say, hey, man, I just want you to know I'm thinking about you today. Thankful for you. I really appreciate your friendship. You always believe in me. You always support me. And I'm really grateful for that. That takes you a minute and 52 cents. And that's it. Yep. And you may make that person's week, a month. Who knows? And so that's, no doubt.
When your time's done playing, that Alabama team is going to be nasty that you're coaching because you're going to get them all right. I tell you, dude.
Dialed. And Ray, I'll kick it back to you. Maybe we can hop into the game action or whatever you guys want to take this. But you mentioned that piece there, Brewer, of like, hey, if somebody pops into your mind, say you're like send them a text. There's a reason why they're popping into your mind. And our FCA chaplain, right, he's like one of my biggest mentors, dude, really saved my life in 2018. And he said that exact same thing like 2 years ago. I'll never forget it. He said, look, if somebody pops into your mind, just shoot them that text. Like just say, hey, I'm thankful for you, man. Keep doing good work, or glad we're on the same team, whatever it is. And when I do that, because sometimes like we got to check ourselves and kind of separate ourselves a little bit. But when I do that, the response is incredible. So that's awesome. I just want to highlight you saying that was huge. Ray, if you want to get into the game or any last things from JP or Ray Mac, any last questions?
Yeah, we'll do a quick game, get you out of here, let you get on with your day. It is called On It or Off It. We're just going to get a quick breakdown of you. You're either going to say you're on it with this list of 10 things, or you're off it, and then just a quick one sentence as to why. I know you just got put on the spot. We coached you poorly, and we just threw a game at you. So here we go. Okay, number one, camping.
Off it.
Off it? Don't like it?
I do like it, but I don't do it.
Okay.
I really never have been in the woods to camp.
Really?
Never. Oh. My brother's a huge camper, but like I don't do it. I would like to do it, but I don't.
We gotta get you out.
So am I on and off it?
I'll put you in the middle. I'll put you up for both. Meditation.
Ooh, forms of it on.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. It's breathing exercises, slowing the heart rate down. Yeah,
absolutely. Madden football.
Oh, I don't have a console.
Nah, I feel you.
Yeah.
No worries. Listening to audiobooks.
On and podcasts, big time.
What's the podcast go to?
I got 3. I was thinking about putting a poll up on Instagram soon to see what everybody else was chewing on, but I got How I Built This by Guy Raz, young entrepreneurs talking about how they built businesses. Incredible podcast leader. Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast, and The School of Greatness.
Those are all getting clipped. We're putting it down. We're going to check them out.
Yeah, they're good.
Iced coffee.
Oh, don't drink coffee.
Okay, very nice.
Okay.
Bowling.
On, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
I love, that's something, you know what? That may be a good little date night.
Need to get out. That's right. Get the wife out and bowl.
Who's the best bowler in here?
I'll probably take that.
Of course you are.
No hesitation.
We're humble.
Yeah. That's right.
What's your best bowling score if you had to just rattle one off?
Yes. I'm not going to brag about it, but I think it was like 150s. Not too good.
All good. Lord of the Rings.
Off.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really too much of my thing.
Yeah, no worries. Journaling. Do you journal every day?
In the season, I journal every at bat, and I do like a prayer journal in the mornings.
Do you go right after the at bat or after the game?
Yeah, I mean, I've got 3 years of, just pitchers, cues, how to steal a base, at bats, shape of the pitches, tendencies, all that stuff. Yeah, that's helped me with this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's honestly stolen me more bases than I can even remember. Yeah, it's
awesome.
like I almost steal the base before I even get to first because like I'm trying to like go ahead and when I get to first, I already know what I want to look for and go.
That's legit. We're gonna have to break that down later.
Big journal, yeah.
Playing pool, billiards.
On, not good, but on. I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm sure you're taking the cake on that too, right?
Yeah,
I'm not taking
watching.
the
I don't know about
cake.
JP. But is not a good billiards player.
I don't know. I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, then there you go. Last one. 49ers winning the Super Bowl.
I gotta go to Chiefs, man.
Hey.
Oh no, dude. Patty Mahomes is nasty. That guy's
I know, but it was funny. Everybody doubted him at the beginning of this year, right? He just kept grinding it and kept true to himself, and he made his adjustments that he needs to. Probably more here, right?
Yo, 100%.
And look at him now.
That's right.
Yeah,
Great
I
job,
gotta.
Brewer. Awesome, dude. That was awesome. Thank you so much for hanging with us.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
again, sorry for botching the intro there. That was
Yeah, come on, man.
dope.
You had one job. You had 2 months to get that right.
I know.
That's right. This has been in the works for
We've
a
been
minute.
DMing for 2 months, and it's like, come on, man.
Go ahead,
If you
Perk.
ever
Go ahead.
convert to pitching, we'll clip By's clip, and we'll already have an intro set. So if you ever convert to pitcher, we got.
We'll save a minute of the interview, and we'll just go right into it.
We're gonna clip it for sure. We're gonna put it on social media because that was hilarious, man. But that's the ultimate all-time. Like we've had some botches, but that was the ultimate botch, right?
That was
Yeah, and then we got. I mean, we don't have to go down to my guy here down here at the bottom right, JP, and let everybody know that he wasn't prepared, but but he wang it good. He wang it good.
What is your blog, by the way, for people that are listening? Where do you do your writing?
Yeah, it's all on my website. It's simply brewerhicklen.com, and it's periodically whenever I have something on my heart that I feel like I don't feel like I'm the most gifted writer, but like when I really put my heart into it, I feel like sometimes like gets how I want. You have a thought in your head, but then you try to put it into words, it doesn't necessarily come out. But that's my biggest message. Is just try to put my heart out there and let people know what's going on. And there's so much support, especially in the Huntsville area, for me that it is really always encouraging. Every time I put something out, people really are uplifting and encouraging to me, and I'm very grateful for all the support.
You're doing a great job, man. You're leaving an impact on that community too, which is a huge
Thank
thing.
you.
If we get out there at any point, keep us
Please.
updated on your camp schedule because we're
Yeah.
trying to make the rounds. We'd love to get out there.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe we could do like a live shoot or something, like a live podcast or something cool like that.
Yeah, really screw up that intro in person. That'd be
Hey, I'll be having my notebook, my sheets. I'll be ready to go, man. I'll have every article I've ever seen.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
This is my puppy right here. Come here, buddy.
Oh
Come here.
man,
Let's go.
Come here.
Survivor.
Survivor.
Oh.
79-pound linebacker that just absolutely took out that car.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't believe that. So
What a beast.
All right, man. Well, y'all have a good day. I appreciate the
you
time.
too, bro.
Brewer,
Thank
we
you so
appreciate
much.
it, man. Thank you so much for popping on, man. Easy to root for. Good luck this spring too, man.
Y'all have a good one. See you, man.
Take care. All right, we're back. That was a fun interview. And it's interesting because generally when we do these things, like we'll do an intro and outro either before or after, and it's usually a couple days apart. This is the first time we've done one where it was like we did an intro, we did the interview, we did a Brewer outro, and we're doing it right now. We botched it. It is what it is, right? We didn't have that. He was clearly an outfielder down, but it made it for a funny situation, funny setup. So, but for him as a person, dude, for real, what I said before offline or off air, as in like, I would love to have that guy coach my kids, is totally true. And just the way he carries himself, the things he talks about, he's a man of faith. He's focused on the mindset. He's clearly got to focus on process over results, which is really cool to see. What do you think about the interview with Brewer? Maybe touch on the debauchery.
Yeah. Other than the debauchery in the beginning of me calling him a right-handed pitcher for the Royals, that was not planned, but
No.
hilarious. This is gonna be a great clip. Overall, though, man, it was amazing. I think I said it on the show. It was like, hey, he's really anchored in his faith and in gratitude. And I think when you have those two things working for you, you can do anything in the world. And it's amazing to see how God's used him and in his light through football, through baseball, through his experiences now into professional baseball, and some of the things he's gone through and battled through. Just what an amazing human being. I mean, so humble. Just the humility is unbelievable, and just to see how he's using his opportunities and his platform to impact people for the greater good, helping the kids, doing things the right way. What an easy guy to root for, man. So what amazing dude, super, super grateful for him. And what a great episode. What about you?
Yeah, just grateful for him joining us, and spending the time. They're so busy. MLB PA just put in their stuff, yesterday for any light news on that. But minor league was kind of like in that, hey, probably not going to get affected, whatever. But it's always trying to turn from December 25th into it's go time, right? And it sounds like he's been working nonstop since the season ended anyways. So it's not like that was ever going to affect him, but really cool to see all the cool things he does in his community. He's putting on those youth camps and stuff like that. He's completely in line with what we're doing. So again, really grateful for him. One thing I did want to touch on, I thought was interesting and crazy story about his dog, by the way, but when somebody gets wrongly accused of a crime and sentenced to prison, when they come out, whenever that is, 10 days, a couple of years, whatever, they look at their room differently, right? Like, and this was just like a weird conversation topic that I'd listened to on a podcast. They look at the room differently, right? Because that room now becomes the nicest, brightest room ever. That bed is the most comfy bed, where they could have complained last week, but after going through that situation, being wrongly accused, being put in prison, and coming out, the whole perspective and view of their own world changes, even with how bad of a situation that is. So it was really crazy to see him do the same thing, right? Talking about his dog, talking about people the same way, because if you can carry that kind of positive energy and thought into your day and the way you interact with people, your life is just gonna take off, So super
awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much, Brewer, for joining us. We can't wait forward to watch you, man. Watch you keep growing. I think you guys are going to be on a heck of a tear. Like you said, all of your teams in that Royals org has really started ramping it up in the last few years. And I think it's partly to do with that mindset that you're taking, and then I'm sure a lot of your teammates are taking too. So thank you for joining us. That's going to do it for us today. I'm Ray Mack. That's BZB.